He meant to comfort the alien queen, but his human gesture caused offense. David West was nervous but excited. He was the first human ambassador to visit the Zybeck Empire. The Zedics were a powerful alien race known across many star systems for their strict customs and strong warriors. Earth hoped to make peace and form an alliance with them. David was chosen because he was friendly and open. He believed that humans could build bridges with others through kindness and honesty. Today was his first meeting with the Zedek's Queen Zera. The spaceship landed on Zedek's homeworld. The city was like nothing David had seen before. Tall buildings shone under three suns. Strange flying machines moved silently in the sky. David took a deep breath. He walked out of the ship wearing the official Earth ambassador suit, dark blue with a silver badge. Zek's guards in shining armor surrounded him. They looked fierce and serious. Inside the great palace, the hall was grand. Huge pillars rose too, a high ceiling decorated with colorful lights. The walls had paintings showing ZC history. At the end of the hall sat Queen Zera on her throne. She was tall and regal. Her skin was a deep violet and her eyes shone like stars. Her clothing was elegant and made of shiny metal threads. A crown with glowing stones rested on her head. David stepped forward with a smile. He bowed, then suddenly felt the urge to do something more. In Earth culture, greeting someone warmly was important. A hug showed friendship and respect. Without thinking, David opened his arms and moved quickly forward. Before anyone could stop him, he wrapped his arms around Queen Zera. In a friendly hug, the room fell silent. Guards froze. The queen's eyes widened in shock. Her face showed anger and disbelief. David pulled back, confused. Queen Zera stood slowly. Her voice was cold and loud. "How dare you touch me without permission?" she said. "You insult the Zedek's empire." David tried to explain. "I'm sorry. On Earth, hugs are friendly greetings. I meant no harm." But the queen shook her head. "This is disrespect. You break our sacred customs. You will face the trial of fire for your offense." David's heart raced. The trial of fire was a serious punishment, not to be taken lightly. It was a test of honor and courage, often dangerous. The palace doors opened and two tall Zyax warriors came forward. They gently took David's arms and led him away. The hall emptied, leaving only the echo of the queen's words. In a small chamber, David sat alone. He felt a mix of fear and confusion. How could a simple hug cause so much trouble? Suddenly the door opened. A young Zex woman entered quietly. She wore simple clothes and smiled gently. "Hello," she said softly. "My name is Zarni. I am your servant while you stay here." David stood and bowed. "Thank you, Zarni. I am David West, ambassador from Earth." Z nodded. "You are lucky the queen did not order worse. The trial of fire is meant to shame and test you." David looked at her. "Can you tell me more about this trial? I want to understand your customs." Zarni smiled kindly. "Yes, I will explain. The trial of fire has 3 parts. The first tests your mind. The second tests your body. The third tests your heart." David thought for a moment. "I will try my best. I want to show the queen that humans respect Zix culture, even if we greet differently." Zarn's eyes brightened. "That is good. Many have failed before you because they were proud or angry." The next day, David was taken to a large room filled with strange symbols and puzzles. The first test was a riddle challenge. The queen's advisors asked questions that required careful thinking. David listened carefully. One question was about the history of the Zex Empire and its alliances. David used his knowledge from Earth's archives and gave answers that surprised the Zyax. "You think like a scholar," one advisor said. "Perhaps humans have more wisdom than we believed." David smiled. "We learn from others. That is how peace begins." He passed the first test. Next came the second test, a battle challenge. David was nervous. Zodiac's warriors were strong and trained from childhood. The arena was large and round with high walls. Opponents were chosen carefully to test his strength and skill. But David had no desire to fight or hurt anyone. When his opponent attacked, David dodged and used quick moves to avoid blows. He used tools and gadgets to disarm, not harm. Slowly the crowd began to whisper, "Look at that human. He does not want to fight, but he wins without violence." The queen watched quietly from her throne. David saw a flicker of interest in her eyes. After the battle, David was exhausted but proud. He had shown courage and respect. The final test was the hardest. David was taken to a dark room with a glowing chair in the center. A device was attached to his head. He felt his mind drift into another world, a memory from Zek's history. He saw an ancient tragedy where many had suffered. The pain was deep and real. David felt tears come to his eyes. He understood their grief. When he woke, he told Zari, "I am sorry for your losses. We all share pain in different ways." Zarini smiled warmly. "You have passed the test of heart. The queen will see you now." David stood tall. He was ready to face whatever came next. As he walked back to the throne room, he thought about the strange journey. A simple hug had started this, but maybe, just maybe, it could lead to something greater, a new friendship between humans and Zaviks. David West sat quietly in the small room just outside the throne chamber. His heart still pounded from the first tests, but he knew the hardest part was still ahead. The trial of fire was no simple punishment. It was a challenge of mind, body, and heart, and he had already passed the first test of mind with his clever answers. Now the second and third tests awaited. Suddenly the heavy door opened. Zarni stepped in with a gentle smile. "David, it is time for the next test," she said softly. David stood and nodded. "I'm ready," he said, trying to sound confident though. His nerves showed. Zarni led him through winding halls deep inside the palace. The walls glowed with soft blue light and strange symbols moved slowly along the stone. They passed soldiers in shining armor, all watching David carefully. Finally, they reached a large circular chamber. The floor was made of smooth black stone and high walls surrounded the room. At the center stood a platform with two weapons resting on it, a long spear and a curved sword. "This is the arena," Z explained. "The second test is a trial of strength and skill. You will face a Zex warrior." David swallowed hard. "I don't want to hurt anyone." Zane looked at him kindly. "The goal is not to kill, but to prove your courage and respect. Use your mind as well as your body." David nodded, but his heart felt heavy. Fighting was not in his nature. He thought about Earth's teachings. The best victories were those won without violence. Soon the doors opened and a tall Zyax warrior stepped inside. He wore heavy armor and held a large axe. His eyes burned with fierce determination. David raised his hands in greeting. "I come in peace," he said. The warrior growled but nodded. The battle began. The warrior charged quickly, swinging his axe with great force. David ducked and rolled to the side. He remembered a small device in his pocket, a tool that could shoot a sticky net to trap his opponent's feet temporarily. As the warrior raised his axe again, David fired the net. It wrapped around the warrior's legs, causing him to stumble. The crowd gasped. No human had ever used such tricks before. David took the spear and held it firmly, not to strike but to block. When the warrior broke free, David used quick movements to disarm him without causing harm. The fight continued like this, David using his mind to find ways to avoid injury and show respect. Slowly the warrior's anger seemed to fade, replaced by curiosity. Finally, David lowered the spear and bowed. "I honor you, warrior." The arena erupted in murmurs and whispers. The queen watched closely. Her expression was unreadable, but David caught a small smile on her lips. Zarni appeared by his side. "You have done well. Few have passed the second test without violence." David felt a small victory. Maybe his way was different, but it worked. After a brief rest, Zarni took David to a quiet room. "Now comes the last and hardest test," she said. David looked at her. "What is it?" "It is a test of empathy. You will be shown the pain and memories of another. You must understand and feel what they felt." David nodded slowly. "I will try." Zarini led him to a dark chamber. In the center was a strange chair with soft cushions. A thin helmet lay on the seat. "Sit down," Sine said. "The helmet will connect to your mind." David sat and put on the helmet. A warm glow surrounded him and he felt his thoughts drift away. Suddenly he was somewhere else. The world was filled with red skies and broken cities. He heard cries of pain and fear. He saw creatures similar to the Zeks losing their homes to a great war long ago. David's chest tightened. He felt the sorrow and loss as if it were his own. Tears came to his eyes. He saw a mother holding her child, hiding from danger. He saw warriors fighting bravely, knowing they might not survive. David understood this was not just history. It was the soul of the Zix people. When the vision faded, David opened his eyes to see Zarni waiting. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Sad," David said softly, "but honored to know your story. I wish to help you find peace." Zarni smiled. You passed the final test. The queen will see you soon. David felt relief and hope. He had shown respect, courage, and heart. Maybe the queen would see that humans were not just strangers but friends. Back in the throne room, Queen Zara sat with her advisors. She looked at David carefully. You have passed the trial of fire, she said finally. Few outsiders have done so. David bowed deeply. Thank you, Your Majesty. I only wish to show friendship. The queen's eyes softened. Your ways are strange, human. You hug a queen, refuse to fight, and weep for our pain. Yet you do not dishonor us. David smiled. Different does not mean wrong. We all want peace. The queen stood. You may stay as my guest. Tomorrow we will speak more. David bowed again. He felt a new connection forming, one that could change the future of both their worlds. The next morning, David woke early. He had spent the night thinking about the queen's words. She had accepted him as a guest, a huge step for someone who had insulted her just days before. But David knew the real challenge was still ahead. He needed to prove that humans were worthy friends to the Zyeks. Zarni met him in the palace garden. The garden was unlike any David had seen. Strange purple plants and glowing flowers surrounded a compound. The air smelled fresh and clean. Birds with colorful feathers sang softly. Good morning, David, Zarni said with a smile. Today you will meet more of the queen's advisors and warriors. They want to see if you truly respect their ways. David nodded. I want to learn everything I can. Zane led him to a large hall, filled with Cybek's leaders. They looked serious but curious. David noticed some whispered among themselves. His reputation as the human who hugged the queen had spread quickly. One of the warriors, a tall man named Torvik, stepped forward. He was strong and proud, with battle scars on his arms. You passed the trial of fire, Torvik said, but many say humans are weak. Can you prove you are strong? David smiled politely. Strength is not only in the body, but in the mind and heart. Torvik raised an eyebrow. Words are easy. Show us. The warriors led David to a training ground. This time David was not fighting alone. He was to spar with Torvik himself. The crowd gathered around. The air was thick with anticipation. Torvik swung his heavy sword with force. David dodged quickly, using his agility to stay out of reach. David did not want to fight hard. He thought about Earth's lessons. Sometimes you win by using your brain, not your fists. As Torvik attacked again, David used a small device he had hidden in his belt. It released a bright smoke that made it hard to see. When Torvik paused, David spoke calmly. Torvik, I do not want to fight you. Let's find another way. Torvik lowered his sword slightly, surprised. What do you mean? David took a step closer. We can be allies. You do not have to see me as an enemy. Torvik looked at the crowd, then back at David. Slowly he nodded and lowered his weapon. The crowd cheered quietly, surprised by the peaceful end. Zarni smiled. You won without violence. That is true strength. Later, David sat with Zarni near the pond in the garden. Do you think the queen will accept peace? He asked. Zari looked thoughtful. She is cautious, but you are different from other aliens. You have something special. David smiled. I hope so. That evening, David was invited to a private dinner with Queen Zara. The room was decorated with soft lights and elegant art. The queen's face was softer than before, but her eyes were still sharp. They talked for hours. David learned about Zed's history, their struggles, and their hopes for the future. The queen asked many questions about Earth, its people, cultures, and ways of living. David told her stories of human kindness, bravery, and creativity. He explained how humans face many challenges but always tried to help each other. At one point, the queen smiled. Humans are strange. Your first greeting was a hug. It shocked me, but you have courage and honesty. David laughed. We sometimes surprise ourselves too. The queen's expression became serious. Your kindness makes me wonder if we have been too harsh with outsiders. David nodded. Peace starts with understanding. Before the dinner ended, the queen gave David a small silver pendant. It was the symbol of Zach's friendship. Keep this, she said. It means you are welcome here. David bowed deeply. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will wear it with pride. The next day, David was shown around the Zayek's capital. He met more people, traders, scientists, and artists. Many smiled and greeted him warmly. Though he realized that beneath their fierce exterior, the Zedics were much like humans. They wanted respect, friendship, and hope for a better future. David knew the journey was not over. There were still many challenges ahead, but for the first time, he felt the warmth of true connection. As the sun set over the purple mountains, David looked up at the stars. Somewhere far away, Earth waited. We will make this work for both our worlds, he whispered. David West felt hopeful after his growing friendship with Queen Zalira and the people of Zidix, but not everyone shared his optimism. Behind the palace walls, darker forces stirred those who saw the human ambassador as a threat to their power. Early one morning, Zari came to David's room with a worried look. David, you must be careful, she whispered. Some in the court do not want peace with humans. David frowned. Who are they? Z looked around, then spoke softly. There is a faction called the Iron Talons. They believe the Zidix must remain strong and separate. They see humans as weak and dangerous. David's heart sank. What will they do? They may try to stop you or worse, Zari said. David stood up, determined. I will not let fear rule us. Later that day, David attended a meeting with Queen Zira and her council. The queen was serious but calm. We face enemies both outside and inside, she said. The Iron Talons spread lies to weaken us. We must be strong. David spoke. I understand, but strength also means trust and friendship. We can face enemies together. A council member, General Korvath, sneered. Trust with humans? They hug a queen without permission and think they can teach us? David met Korvath's cold eyes. I made a mistake, yes, but I learned. I want to build a future where we all respect each other. The queen raised her hand. Enough. We will decide our path carefully. After the meeting, David walked with Zarni through the palace halls. Korvath is dangerous, Zarni said. He controls many soldiers. David nodded. How do we stop him? By showing the court that peace is stronger than fear, Zareen replied. That night, David dreamed of a battle. The Iron Talons attacking the palace. The queen in danger. He woke up sweaty but more determined than ever. The next day, a sudden alarm echoed through the palace. Soldiers rushed past David and Zarni. The Iron Talons, Zarni said. They have started a rebellion. David followed guards to the throne room. The queen stood firm, surrounded by loyal warriors. General Korvath entered, leading a group of armored soldiers. Your reign is over, Zir, he declared. Humans are a threat. We take control. The queen's voice was steady. You are traitors. The people will not follow you. Korvath laughed coldly. We will see. David stepped forward. Stop this now. Violence will only destroy you all. Korvath sneered. You speak like a child. Leave, human. David did not move. No, we'll help protect the queen and Zedix. Suddenly the doors burst open. Loyal soldiers rushed in, led by Torvik. A fierce battle began. David helped the queen's guards with his gadgets and quick thinking. He used smoke bombs and traps to slow the rebels. The fighting was intense. David saw warriors he had come to respect fall, but the queen's forces were brave and strong. Slowly the Iron Talons were pushed back. Korvath faced David. You think you can win? David raised his hands. I fight for peace, not war. Korvath attacked, but David dodged and used a net to trap him. The rebellion was over. After the battle, the queen thanked David. You saved us. Your courage surprised many. David smiled tiredly. I only did what was right, but David knew this was just the beginning. The Iron Talons' ideas were still alive in many hearts. The queen stood tall. We must unite our people. Only then can peace last. David nodded. And I will help in any way I can. As the palace slowly healed, David felt the weight of responsibility. He had crossed a line from visitor to protector. The human who once insulted a queen with a hug was now a symbol of hope for two worlds. The palace was quiet after the battle. The Iron Talons' rebellion had been crushed, but its shadow still lingered in the halls of Zadix. David West walked carefully, knowing the peace they had won was fragile. Many still doubted the future he promised. Queen Zara stood on the balcony, watching the sun set over the purple mountains. David joined her, feeling the cool breeze. We have much work ahead, she said softly. David nodded. But we have hope. That is stronger than any weapon. The queen smiled. You changed many minds, David. Even mine. David looked at her. You changed mine too. I came here thinking I understood your people. Now I know there is much more. Days passed, and the city began to heal. The queen called a great council, inviting leaders from every tribe and faction. David helped organize the meeting. It was the largest gathering of Zedix in decades. Many came curious, some suspicious, but all wanting to hear the queen's new vision. In the grand hall, Queen Zara spoke with passion. We have faced division and war, she said, but we are stronger together. Today we choose a new path, one of unity and friendship, not fear. The crowd listened, some nodding, others silent. David stood beside her and spoke next. I am a human from a distant world. I came here by mistake, or maybe fate. I once insulted the queen with a hug, but she forgave me because she saw my heart. He paused, looking at the Zayak's faces. We are different, but we want the same things: peace, respect, and a future where we can grow together. A warrior raised his hand. How do we trust humans after past wars? David answered honestly. Trust is built over time, with actions, not words. I will stay here and work for that trust. We will learn from each other. The room was silent for a moment. Then slowly, applause began. It grew louder until the hall was filled with hope. After the council, David and Zee walked through the city streets. Children played together, Zedix and humans sharing games and laughter. Zarn smiled. You brought something new here, David. Not just peace but hope. David looked at the stars rising in the night sky. We have a long way to go, but together, we can do anything. Weeks later, a small ship landed near the palace. It was a delegation from Earth, sent to learn about the Zedix and offer friendship. David greeted them warmly. Welcome to Zedix. We have much to share. The queen watched from afar, her eyes shining with pride. The human who once insulted her with a hug had become a bridge between two worlds. As the suns rose again, David felt a new dawn, a future where differences were not barriers, but bridges. The journey had been difficult, filled with tests, battles, and doubts, but it had led to something greater: a future where humans and Zedix could stand side by side, facing the stars as friends.